5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good evening and welcome to the White Wave Views broadcast tonight. The WWBB, coming to you live from Auckland, New Zealand by the Pakeha Queen. That's me. Tonight, the killing of Charlie Kirk. I did a little video last night, just making a few pointers and saying that I am Charlie Kirk, which a lot of people are doing. And I say I'm Charlie Kirk because I believed in what he said and what he was doing, and I thought it was a very good thing, especially for the youth. So since this has happened, I've been analysing all these videos that have been up in the news broadcasts and things like that, because I love analysing. I love questioning everything. I've always been like that. Ever since I was a child, looking into things and wanting to know the truth and getting to the bottom of things. And I'm very observant. I've become highly observant now in the later part of my life. And I like to go down the rabbit hole. Some people have called me a conspiracy theorist. And I don't mind being called names. It doesn't really bother me. Okay, because if you're going to speak out the truth in this day and age, then you've got to be fearless, and you've got to be cautious and wary, yes. But you've got to be fearless in the sense that I'm not going to let the fear of the world stop me from speaking. Okay, but instead, I'm going to let the fear and the reverence of the Lord guide my life. Okay, so I believe the Lord has guided my life for a long time, since I saw a vision of Jesus when I was a child, when I was 7 years old on the way to school. I saw a vision of Jesus in the sky, standing in a cloud, and he dived off that cloud, and he disappeared into my chest, into my heart. And he's been with me ever since, and I've had a very bittersweet journey with the Lord, and I've had a lot of spiritual, supernatural experiences. And I have a gift of insight and seeing into things and seeing the big picture and seeing behind things. Sometimes I might get it wrong, and I'll probably be a little bit bitsy tonight about this incident. But I just like to point a few things out. Okay? Now, I believe this was a bloodthirsty execution, like a satanic ritual. Okay? Nothing to do with what Charlie was doing. This is what the powers of be wanting to silence people's voices and gatekeep the youth, because they've invested a lot of time, resources, money and energy into changing the minds of the youth. Okay, so my slogan here is not one more mind. Okay, and we all need to take action and be actively involved in not letting what's happening take our minds. Okay. Now, Charlie was the founder of Turning Point, which he created in 2018. And it was really about freedom of speech, and he could see what was going on in the universities with the youth, with all this woke stuff, right? So he was seeing that basically half the students were too scared to speak out about anything, and they were just complying and going along. Okay, so he decided to create Turning Point so he could have an open platform for people to have an open mic and come and ask him questions and have an open debate and discussion about all of these huge changes in society that have been dumped on us one after the other. And we're looking on and seeing the youth having a real confusing problem here, and it's up to us to do something about it, especially those who have been called by God, which Charlie was. Very much a man of God. Christ was first in his life. Now, what I talk about in my lives, as some of you may know, over the last year, a lot of them I deleted from before because I was having a problem with some people, but I talk about the worldwide war on whites and Christians. okay, the war on colonials, you know, the settlers who apparently, were sent by the British Empire to just bulldoze indigenous cultures away and this sort of thing. All of these narratives that have been going around for the past few decades about white people, history, treaties, where we went, what we did, and all of that is all being dumped upon people. Okay? We've become the persecuted and the pariahs. And we've been feeling it for a long time. So Charlie was somebody who actually could see that, okay, that there was a real attack on Christianity, and he wanted students to come to him and ask him the questions, the burning questions. And he would always have a really good answer. He always answered with authority and confidence. He always admitted if he was wrong about something. And he just wanted to get people talking about it. And he was giving an opportunity to those people who felt that they were silenced and couldn't speak, okay, with the pressure of being labelled a racist or a bigot or Islamophobic or homophobic or something like that, and these people have been shut down. Okay, and the young people today have really suffered a lot. They really have. They've either gone down dark roads or they've been silenced about trying to help those people going down dark roads. Okay, so this is a turning point in the world, and if you've been following social media, you can see what the response is. Very polarizing. Some people celebrating, other people grieving and mourning. Okay, because this is just, it wasn't just an attack on Charlie himself. This is an attack on Christianity. That's what it is. And in each consecutive country in the Commonwealth, the Western culture, which is based on Christianity, is being attacked, dismantled and destroyed. Okay, now there's various reasons for this. I believe the higher ones, the power that be, are just using all of us to fight with each other, whether it's religion or race or gender or health or the climate or the moon landings. You know, all of these arguments that people have. When I was growing up, having alternate thoughts and being interested in weird and wonderful mysterious sciences and things like that was popular. It was very popular. Now, you're a danger to society if you think the earth is flat. I mean, what's happened to people? We've become unteachable. We're not questioning the theories. We're just going blindly along. Teachers teach us, we repeat it, have an exam, and boom, that's it. You're kind of locked in for life into that. That's what I believe, that's factual, and it keeps getting reinforced with images and texts. Okay? They're going to show you that globe every day. Okay, and you're going to believe it because they're showing it to you, and they're telling you a story. It's an image in a story. It's an image in a story. Okay, like a movie, like a play, whatever. Image and story, image and story. Okay, so this is what we're getting all the time when incidences happen as well. We're getting an image, we're getting a story, we're getting names, numbers, all that sort of thing. Now, I don't know everything, but this is my analysis of what happened to Charlie Kirk. God bless his soul. First of all, I want to say that I believe it was a ritualistic blood sacrifice, okay, for the world to see, in front of his family, in front of all the students, and all of that, a perfectly executed, planned, well planned and orchestrated, with very well planned distractions and decoys as well. Okay? Now let's look at the Freemasonic symbols in it, because a lot of the Freemason people are in high positions in the community, like mayors, governors, police. They could be politicians, doctors, lawyers. They could be anybody. Very intelligent people, people that love to research history, men that want to hang with other men that are maybe wealthy or in business, and they have a business network, so it's all chugs along and for a long time with a lodge in every suburb in the world, basically. So these intelligent people, you know, end up in those intelligent positions. And so they work together. Okay, they have a network, they work together, they're very tight, and they have like theatrical rituals and things like that. A lot of people think it's just a bit of fun, but when they get up into the higher degrees, they're able to do cover-ups, murders, and all that sort of thing. Okay? So, as a church, we should know this. Now, back in the old days, okay, growing up in the 70s and the 80s, in New Zealand here, the church used to teach you about the witchcraft of the Masons. It was just part of learning about, the enemy and how the devil works in the world. It's very important to know that, to know the enemy, okay? To understand what he's doing, to wake up in the morning and think, right, I'm going to be a watcher on the wall today. How is the devil getting into my family or my community or my country or my government? And the church has actually been slack and pathetic, and they took their hands off the plough and they didn't defend and contend for the faith. Okay, so now we've got the job of a real battle now. So this Freemasonic symbols are all there. Now they got this boy, this 21-year-old Tyler Robinson, that's his name. Okay, they said they've caught the guy, he's confessed and all of that. Okay, so this is the focus. Okay, so the Tyler is actually the guard that stands outside the Freemason lodge when they're having meetings, so nobody comes onto the property. And so that's called the Tyler, Tyler, and that's the name of the boy they got. His surname is Robinson, and that's connected to Freemason too, because the John J. Robinson was the one that wrote the book. He was the author of Born in Blood, The Lost Secrets of Freemasonry. And Robinson is quite a big name in Freemasonry. In fact, the boxer Sugar Ray Robinson changed his name to Robinson because he was a prince in the Freemasonic lodge there. A lot of people might not know that, but so the Tyler Robinson name is significant and it's symbolic. Okay? So yes, the Tyler he puts the roof tiles on. That's where the name actually comes from, the roof tiles. So there's this Tyler, this boy on the roof, okay? So this is how it all kind of ties in. He's the outer guard, and he prevents unauthorized access to the lodge, and also the territory around the lodge is all a private property, and they have boundaries. So the Tyler is the outer guard. He prevents unauthorised access. So basically what's happened here is that Charlie Kirk has been unauthorised access onto this territory of the Utah University. Okay, and he's an unwanted visitor. Now this was his first stop on a tour. This is his first event at this university, and it was like literally 10 minutes into the event that he just got taken out and he had his throat slit. Now that is symbolic as well. The cutting of the throat, okay, it's a threat, but when it's actually done, it is considered not only a physical death but a spiritual death as well. So they weren't just trying to kill him bodily, they were trying to kill for his lifeblood to be poured out like Jesus. It was like Jesus being crucified. I thought about it and I just thought, oh my God, this is serious. This is serious attack on Christianity in the world. And those people out there that are bagging Christians and slandering, defaming, shaming and blaming and blaspheming the white people that God sent around the world to save the lost. I mean, how long are you going to be blaspheming us? Defaming, shaming and blaming us for what? Just because we're born white, we get the label of Nazi white supremacist, and that we've accrued generational wealth from stolen land from native indigenous people, and this has been chugging away for a long time now, all around Africa, It's in the Muslim world, they hate the Christians. All of these people are making alliances together because they have a common denominator. A hate for Christianity and white people, the dirty colonizers. We're sick and tired of being called names that the hate speech is coming from you. You haters and you racists that are believing in those narratives of history and stuff. This is causing the hate. The hate speech is also coming from the media as well. And who controls the media? Well, you know, you're going to get doctored videos on the media. I found a few of them with this. There was one guy, he was blanked out in a sort of a light brown colour, and I thought, why are they blanking that guy out? And it was funny, I saw it because as I go into my take on who killed Charlie and how it happened, that video sort of confirmed it for me. Because the guy I picked out that did it, that was down the front, just to the right, okay, then later I saw that video from a back view, and they blanked that guy out. And I just thought, well, they blanked that guy out. I picked him out, and they blanked him out. And I'm like, well, I'm onto something here, so I went deeper down the rabbit hole, you see. That's how it goes. Somebody's helping bring truth. The Lord helps bring the truth through, and he uses us as his vessels, as his mouthpiece, his hands and feet, you see. The other Masonic symbol was, and the governor of Utah, who is actually a Mason, he's a Mormon Mason, they're the military. Okay, he's been in a lot of very high positions for years. The governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, his name is, he was made governor, commander-in-chief of Utah in 2021. And we all know what was happening in 2021, right? I don't really want to go on about that and have any videos sort of deleted. Okay, because this is all just my opinion, my personal take. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying how I see it, okay, and my little analysis of it, my observations. The governor says, and I found him quite strange, Spencer Cox, the governor of Utah. I have an intuition, right? I can literally look at people and tell whether they're good or not. It's just a thing. It's like a vibe. It's like a biofield. And I saw this man, and he just looked wrong. And I shouldn't say that, but it's just like something just went with me. Okay, and so I dug into him a little bit of his background. He's a Masonic Mormon. Okay, and basically been most of his life. So he's been governing Utah since 2021, and in 2023 he was actually bumped up and he became the chair of the national governors. So he's had a very good control over everything. Okay, so they got the boy on the roof, Tyler, right? Now, I believe he was a decoy. I don't think that he shot a high caliber rifle from the roof. I don't. And my reasons for that are because I watched a slow-mo close-up of the actual just before and just after. And you can, it's just, I just don't think it was a bullet because because of the nature of the cut. Now, let me tell you this. When I watched this video that somebody had taken and it was close up, they were analysing it as well and they were asking questions, and I was watching it and I just thought, yeah. So what happened was Charlie was sitting there. If you didn't see, I mean, it's on the internet, most people probably have seen it, but this close-up I watched was slow motion close-up, right? So what I'm saying is what I saw. Okay, what I saw first is that Charlie's t-shirt started being disturbed by a gush of wind, and it came from here and it came up and across. You could see it travelling from the lower part of his t-shirt, and it really impacted it quite hard, quite an impression, and it lifted his t-shirt up, and it actually pulled it right off his chest. Okay, and you could see that this blast of wind was coming up and across. And the first thing I thought was, well, that's not a bullet coming down from somebody on the roof, is it? I thought, no. And I just, as this move of air came up, he had a little lapel mic, which he uses at all his events. He was holding a corded microphone, but he always has a little lapel mic. And as this blast came up, it blew his lapel mic just straight off. It was just a little clip anyway, so. But this gust of air is what I'm talking about. And also, he pulls this hand up first because he's feeling this impression on his chest here, right? The impression of the wind first. And then the other hand comes up with the microphone in it. But he goes to hold his chest first, here, you know, because he can feel something. So what I'm saying is this, is that I believe that he was blasted from the front just to the right. That guy I was talking about before, he's got a beige cap on and he's got blondish curly hair. He's a youngish white guy. And he was standing right behind the barrier, right at the front, just to Charlie's right. So it appears that this gust of wind has come up from that direction, and I looked at it and I thought something's come up from just below, just to the right at the front of Charlie. That's what it looked like. And then the next thing in the slow motion video that you see is that he has this perfectly clean cut about 3 inches long right here. And as he's going back, falling back with his arms up, you can see this perfect cut, right? I don't think a bullet would do that. A bullet would explode his head, or at least something coming out the back. Nothing. There was no spray of anything around. And what happened was, because it was slow motion, he's this perfect cut, and the blood just gushed out of that cut over this side of his shirt, of his body. I just looked at it and I just thought, that's not a bullet from a rifle. It looks like it was just sort of quickly slashed with a very sharp scalpel. It was a perfect scalpel cut. Went right through the carotid artery. And I immediately thought, somebody in the front has had some device and done that. Other videos and people that were interviewed that were close to the front when it happened and they saw it, they said that they thought it was a firecracker that went off. You know, that it wasn't a gun, and other people saying it was a high caliber rifle. But a lot of people's initial response also was to turn their heads to the left of Charlie, over this way, because I saw a video of a rear view of looking down from up on the second story, looking down at Charlie, right? And when the gun went off, or when the shot went off, the pop or the crack, people's heads were looking to the left of Charlie, up sort of that way. Whereas the boy on the roof was more sort of directly in front, slightly to the right. So why would people turn their head the other way if the boy on the roof was shooting? They would be turning that way to look. So I noticed that too, the crowd just going with their heads like that, and that's a telltale sign of where that shot was coming from. Now, I'm not saying that there wasn't a high caliber rifle shot, because a lot of the experts, they can listen to sounds and they know what sort of gun was used. So I trust that. So even though I think somebody pop shot him with something like an air pistol, like a compressed air pistol, because air can slice through flesh, and I looked that up too, an air gun of some kind that would make a crack or pop sound but they would probably still need a high caliber rifle, maybe a blank shot into the ear to cover for that. So you would think it was shot from a rifle. And then the image of the boy on the roof running. I mean, who would be running across the roof standing up if you just assassinated somebody? You'd be crawling, wouldn't you? Yeah, you'd be crawling. I've got too many questions here. The video of the boy jumping off the roof, apparently after he'd done it, Tyler on the roof, apparently after he'd done it, he just jumped off onto the grass, and there's a video of him jumping off the roof. And I thought, where is everybody? No one was around. Like, there was one person that you can see slowly strolling on the pathway underneath the trees in the background. And he's jumped down onto this freshly mowed lawn. No one is around except that one person strolling on the pathway. There was spaces in the car park, and I'm like, this is not an event where there's thousands of people there. Nobody was running screaming for their life or anything. Not that there was any audio on that video, but you would at least have seen people milling around. It was a busy day. Thousands of people were there on the campus for this event, this big event. There was like nobody around. And the shadow of his body, I think, was too long for the time of day, which was basically 20 past 12. I don't know the exact trajectory of the sun from there. I'm not quite sure where it's supposed to be coming, where it is in their aspect, because I'm in New Zealand. But the shadow of his body looked a little bit long to me to be a midday thing. And the shadow would be a lot shorter, I would say, being high noon sort of thing, or just a couple of degrees off from high noon. So I observed that as well. I thought, that's strange. It looks like that video is pre-recorded, maybe, early in the morning when no one's around the day before or some other day. And then he jumps off, but it appears that he doesn't seem to have a big rifle. He's got this sort of floppy bag. It didn't seem to be the really bulging backpack that he had when they had the earlier picture of him going up the stairs that the police said they got. They got CT cam of him walking up the stairs to get onto the roof. He had quite a bulging backpack there in those photos. When he jumped from the roof, he didn't have that. He sort of had this floppy type bag, and I thought, where's the rifle? So that was another sort of observation that I made. And then they've got CT footage of him walking down a street. Isn't that convenient that suddenly he's right there and he crosses the road right in front of this CT camera? So it seemed like it was kind of set up. The reason why I say that it could be pre-recorded is because I have witnessed a pre-recording and got proof of it. Okay, something that happened in New Zealand a few years ago, and there was a live broadcast news on the TV about it. And of course, me being observant analysis detective, right, I was taking photos of the TV live broadcast of the news of this incident that happened in New Zealand a few years ago. And I just happened to notice that the publishing, it was supposed to be a live broadcast, right? But they had the wrong date. They had the day before. And I noticed it, took a photo of it. Pre-recording. I'm like, and ever since then I've just known that they can do these things. What you might think is a live stream may not necessarily be a live stream at all. It's pre-recorded, and I don't know how they do it. I'm not a crook, so I don't know how to sort of doctor or fiddle with things, but I know that they can pre-record, and they'll show you on the live news something that's not actually real. And I've known that for a while, so when it comes to things like this, I have a really good dive and I have a really good look. And I believe the video of the boy jumping off the roof was pre-recorded. The other reason why I think that is that a CT camera footage is normally still. It just shows you what's in front of the camera. But this one, it was going up and down and side to side, and even an aerial shot, because I said before that there was spaces in the car park, and I thought, this is a huge event. There shouldn't be any spaces in the car. There should be people milling around everywhere. Because even though if people weren't actually right in the area where they were having the event, there would have been hundreds of people walking around, cars everywhere, you know what I mean? It was just dead quiet. And a CT cam footage does not go up and down, side to side, and give you an aerial shot. Okay, somebody is behind that camera doing that, filming that boy. And it went quite high up, so I don't know how do they do that. I'm stuffed if I know. A long extension, a drone. I was also talking about drones. I was also very surprised that the police, the local police, you know, being a very controversial sort of event, and Charlie Kirk being somebody who is provocative, challenging, you know, making polarized views with the students, so it's quite a tense situation. But these students are just, they run for that microphone because they want to have their voice heard. Okay, and people want to argue with Charlie about what he's saying, and that's fine, and Charlie gives them the answer, and this is what the youth need. They need to be told and shown, okay, other perspectives, because they're only getting one of everything. I mean, how can you be teaching a theory and not pulling in all the other theories about that subject? You know, you can't teach theory as fact. Everything is a theory until it's actually proven and agreed on. So, but no, these powers that be, they want us to have tunnel vision, and they want us to think the same about everything. They want us to have their perverted view. And they don't like it when Christians come along and we're not going to let them flaunt their sin in the street. You know, we have something to say about that on behalf of God. You know, it's not right. You know, there is such a thing as right and wrong. And the Bible says that the law of right and wrong, because it is a law, is written on our hearts, and nobody has an excuse. You know when you're doing right and wrong. You know it. In fact, if you had a detector, a biofield detector, which, you know, they do have, you know, we can't get hold of them, but they can actually read people's biofields. They can read when they're guilty, and they don't actually use these things, but they've got them. Your biofield, your whole body, if you're guilty about something, your body actually vibrates. Okay, you give off a frequency. If you're a hypocrite, you'll give off that frequency. You know, if you're if you're angry, you give off that frequency. If you're happy, it's like a vibe. People call it a vibe. And that's your aura, your biofield. Okay, now these powers that be, they've got advanced technology like you wouldn't believe, and they've been tapping into our biofields of different things. And they've been changing the way that people think. And the only way that you can actually be shielded from that is to come to the Lord. You know, He doesn't expect anything fantastic of you at all. He just wants to be the icing on the cake of your life and lead and guide you in these perilous times. Okay, where right is becoming wrong and wrong is becoming right. You know, and all the lines are blurry and everybody's arguing and you know, getting provoked. And in amongst it all, okay, it's God's plan. And God has a plan for everybody's life. He had a plan for Charlie's life. Now, Charlie outpoured. His cup was overflowing. He outpoured. He created the Turning Point Foundation. He's got a lot of people working for him. He's outpoured all of that God filled him up with. He's been a faithful man with his family. He's been very, very blessed, and I think a lot of people have been very jealous of him. He's a very confident man. Sometimes he can be cocky, and people don't like that. They get this tall poppy syndrome. But, you know, you need to deal with your shit and stop being violent against people, thinking that you have to enforce people to think your way or to believe a certain way. It's very off-putting and it's very oppressive. Nobody has to bow to this woke bloke and tribal choke oppression. Here in New Zealand it's happening as well. There's bad actors being used here in this worldwide war on white Christians. And I've talked about it quite a bit in my videos over the last few months. You can look back at those, because I want to stick to this. Governor Spencer Cox said it only took them 33 hours to find Tyler, the roofer. And the governor said that is an historical time period. The 33. See, there's a 33. There, another symbol, numerical symbolic of Freemasonry. Yeah, what else am I going to say about it? What I believe is there was a guy at the front to the right. He had a beige cap on. Okay, I reckon that, you know, he could have done it. Had a little air gun pistol. And if that shoots fast enough through the air at close range, it'll slice right through the skin. It could have had maybe particles in it or some kind of something that sliced his throat. It wasn't a bullet. Something else sliced his throat. And what I can think of is it's an air weapon, compressed air weapon, or something that they've got, a device, maybe a military grade device. Would have to be something small you could put in a little bag, or even, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a physicist or anything like that, and, you know, compressed air, you know, some compressed air could have been tamed in a small unit, okay, and aimed towards Charlie, and it just slapped. It went up his shirt and across, sliced through here. Why wasn't there any damage to the back of the tent or the wall? I mean, wouldn't a bullet cause damage to the back of the tent, at least a hole or something? There was a wall behind the tent. I don't know if there's damage on the wall, but there would be if a bullet had gone into it. All of these sort of questions. I believe they use people. I think that there's very large families of Freemasons, and a lot of them are just crisis actors, and they seem to be popping up in different places. Other people have looked into incidences in the past and found that there's, you know, certain people in their, you know, 2 or 3 different crisis events, like school shootings or whatever, in totally different states, and it's the same person, like, playing a part. It's kind of confusing when you see things like that, and it's not fair to say that conspiracy theorists don't have valid points to make. Okay, so you should be seeking the counsel of many to find the truth, not just having a few repeating voices that are trying to tell everybody, dictating to people what they need to believe. We've got to stop believing in scams and hoaxes and false flags, and we've got to really look at things really hard and have open discussion and debate, and that's what Charlie would want. He would want us to continue advocating for the open discussion and the debate. If you're arguing about something, then let's have an open discussion and debate about it. Instead of people making decisions behind closed doors, leaving other people out. That's when angst comes. That's when people get annoyed and angry about it because their voices aren't being heard. This is the era where voices are supposed to be heard, but there's so many voices that are being silenced and oppressed. How come that is? You know, do you think you can only have your say if you shut others down? which is an oxymoron going on here. This is what it is. The governor of Utah, he was talking about, oh, they just have to let you know what the inscriptions are on the casings, all those messages, those anti-fascist messages on the casings, you know, telling you what they are. Why would they even do that? I mean, if it was me, I wouldn't even be saying what those messages are on the casings, because, you know, they want you to know the message. They shouldn't be letting those messages out. We don't want to know that. But there was messages on the casings, and there was also symbols, which were arrow symbols. There was one up arrow, okay, there was one arrow that went across, so there's an arrow going up, and then at the top of that there was an arrow going that way, and then there was 1, 2, 3 down arrows. So I thought, oh, what do these arrows mean? So I looked it up, and the 3 down arrows are really, they're anti-fascist symbols, the 3 down arrows. Okay, anti-monarchy, anti-fascist, you know, rebellion, anarchy. 3 down arrows, and that was what was on one of the casings of the bullet, they say. Okay, they found all these things. They found the gun wrapped up in a dark towel, hidden in the woods. I mean, you can't make this shit up, honestly. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Honestly, I don't. It's like, you know, the stories that they tell with straight faces. But you know what? That governor, he was laughing and grinning quite a bit. And he just didn't seem sad at all. He seemed like he was relishing in it. I think him and Trump have a bit of a problem together. I think Trump's told him off a couple of times because he wouldn't do something. And I don't know, you know, as a governor sort of thing. I don't know. But this governor's anti-Trump, you know. He is. He's all for the woke side. He's all for the woke, and that was probably why he got planted in place. You know, he just came up in the ranks, and now he's sort of leading it all. The guy is a dithering idiot, I'm telling you. He stutters. It's like he's an actor. It looks like he's acting really badly. I mean, this is just my observation. He said some weird things, okay? This Spencer Cox, his name is. Governor of Utah. He said some weird things. I'll read some of them out to you, and you tell me what you think. There was OWO was on one of the casings as well, which is One World Order. Okay, so there you go. That's who done it. The One World Order people. Okay. Some of the things, Kash Patel was standing with the governor as well and had a couple of speeches, and I just thought to myself, oh my God, I was looking at their ties. So you've got the governor, Spencer Cox, and Kash Patel standing right next to him having this press conference, right? And I just straight away I noticed their ties. I noticed Kash Patel's tie. It's one of those, what do they call them, the keeper scarves that the Palestinians wear, and it's been made into a tie, and I looked at it and I thought, I had never seen a tie made out of that scarf material, and he's got one on, and I'm like, it's an Indian guy, and I'm like, God, I just don't know. We can trust these people. It's like they're just controlling and gatekeeping everything. And Spencer Cox, the governor, his tie was black, and it, honestly, I looked at it and I just thought, that looks like it's got blood spattered on it. Honestly looks like it. It's a very irregular sort of a splattery pattern, like a dark blood red on the black tie. So he's the governor. And me, the conspiracy theorist, I'm looking at these ties thinking, oh, you know, he's got the blood splattered one and Kash Patel's got the Palestinian one. Anyway, that's just all by the by. This guy says, also Kash Patel had a speech, and at the end of it, he said, and this is referring to Charlie, he says, see you in Valhalla. And I thought, Valhalla? This is coming from, he's an obvious Muslim, right, Kash Patel? With the Palestinian tie on. And he says to Charlie, see you in Valhalla? I isn't that a Viking heaven or something? There's a mix of, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe Valhalla's got something to do with masonry as well. I don't know. The governor was thanking the family of Tyler Robinson, which I kind of think could just be an extended Freemasonic family that, they all get, a lot of these people get told to do things and they have to because they're trapped in a cult. It's like a big cult and a lot of families involved and they get things done and they're just bad actors and they do things, decoys and distractions and stuff. Look what they did through COVID, those ones that were doing the singing and the dancing in the hospital. I mean, they weren't nurses and doctors. Come on, these are just... I just have no words sometimes. Okay, so the governor also said, with the arrest of Tyler Robinson, it is a closure to a dark chapter. I thought, he's just telling you, plain as day. Okay, they're actually telling you, but they do it in a very... I can see right through it. I can read it. See, not everybody can read it, but I can. I can read what they're saying. It's like he says, this is the closure to a dark chapter. So what he's saying is Charlie Kirk was a dark chapter for them. Yeah, to them, Charlie's the enemy. He was a dark chapter. What is this dark chapter this governor's talking about if it's not what Charlie's been doing? So this execution of Charlie is actually closing what has been a very dark chapter for the leftist liberals and the Democrats and all their Baphomet worshippers. It's been a dark chapter for them. They've had to just take somebody out now. I mean, they honestly, they've just blown it. They've actually blown it because they've activated. People are awake now. They've activated. The people are activating all over the world. People are coming to the Lord. People are refreshing their relationship with God. Okay, people are realizing we're dealing with a real enemy here. This is no joke. These people are literally blood sacrificing people now, blatantly in broad daylight, and they are just making up a big story around it. The media's involved in everything, so we got to really be careful of what we see. And even what I'm saying might not be true. Don't listen to me. What I'm telling you to do is be observant. Okay, even Jesus says, the heart of the diligent seeker will find God. Okay, Jesus always implored people to study and learn and research and seek the counsel of many. Look at everybody's writings to see that my word is with you. Okay? Jesus said, let people speak. So God and Jesus are the advocates of freedom of speech, just like Charlie Kirk was. He was a vessel used by God all that time, and he outpoured everything. He's left a heck of a legacy. And people are just picking up the flame now. And they feel like an unction inside to, I've got to stand up. I've been scared to speak out in case I lose something. I lose friends. I lose followers. I lose my job. I lose my reputation. I lose a family member. It's all fear, 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 fear. Don't fear, because people want to see courage. Okay, you might get a bit of flack for a while, but if you are just walking in authority and conviction, you're called by God, then don't worry about what other people think about you. You've got to get over that. Don't worry about if they call you names and blaspheme you. Jesus said they hated me and I healed them. They're going to hate you more and they're going to want to crucify you. Jesus poured out all his blood, and I guarantee you by the time Charlie got to hospital, every little bit of lifeblood would have been dropped out of him. And it was like a sacrifice. Charlie was the martyr, but they sacrificed him. And the funny thing was, the same day, and I don't know exactly what time, haven't really looked into it much yet, but there was a shooting at a school in another state where a child or two children were actually shot dead. And that is the coupling up of the sacrifice. Well, I think there was 2 children died. Okay? So this 3 arrow down thing could be three children down. Or 3 people down, Charlie and the 2 kids at the school. These school shootings, it's like they want to shoot kids, they sacrifice kids. Oh, you know, if you want that, you have to go and shoot a kid at a school. You know, it's use people and then they'll just execute them afterwards or throw them in jail. I don't know what's going to happen to this Tyler boy. I'm not quite sure. I mean, the whole family could just be Freemasons in the bowl. I wouldn't be surprised. Now that he's actually in custody and all the neighbours don't expect Tyler to be at home, the parents will probably move to another state. And I don't know. The boy's going to be off the scene, so they just have no qualms in sacrificing even their own. And that's how they keep them all entrapped in fear as well. It's really a big fear entrapment. That's how witchcraft works. That's how it works. And they distract you with things, and all the news was about the boy on the roof, the Tyler, the Freemasonic distraction. You know, and he was the symbol of the execution, even though I don't believe he did it. He was the symbol of it because he's the Tyler. He's standing there on the outskirts of the lodge watching to see who's an unwanted visitor. And he's supposed to be the one that informs that there's somebody here that's unwanted. But and Charlie came onto that campus and basically the whole university, think of it as a lodge with the private property around it and the perimeter. Think of it like it's a Freemasonic lodge. Okay, and Charlie Kirk was coming and setting up his tent, preaching the truth of Christianity, which is the enemy of them, preaching what's good, true and right, getting kids to try and come away from this woke bloke and choke. They just couldn't have that going on because he was just too effective. He was just too effective. He was turning it all around. So the governor said again, is this the end of a dark chapter? The dark chapter being Charlie. He was the dark chapter to them. Excuse me. Got a tickly throat. He also mentioned we need to have our eyes wide open. Or eyes wide shut, really, and that's symbolic too. He said we need to understand what's happening in our country and have our eyes wide open. He says, do we escalate or do we find an off-ramp? So, when these people are having their speeches, they're talking to their people. Just imagine that they're not talking to you. They just want you to just take it as just, this is the absolute truth news that's happening. But at the same time, they're actually speaking to their people. If you know what I mean. You've got to have a bit of a bilateral brain for that and understand how they do the talk. Okay? So this governor is actually saying, do we escalate? Or do we find an off-ramp? Okay? Are we going to do some more killings? Or should we just go off to the side for a while and lay low and let things calm down? And make sure everybody believes in the Tyler, the roofer. Okay? The guard, he was symbolic of the one that exposes the unwanted visitor and probably takes him out as well. Takes out the unwanted visitor as the symbolic of the guard of the lodge. Okay, but it was somebody else that actually did the killing. And that's the professional hitman, using an advanced military grade high-speed air pistol. Because there was no damage to the back of the tent. It wasn't a bullet. That's how I know that. I'm no expert about guns and bullets, but I know what I see. Okay, the expert eyes. Do we escalate, he says. He's talking to his people. He's giving messages to them in plain sight. This is just my opinion, by the way. I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just getting people to think. All right? He said that the attack on Charlie was an attack on all. He's telling you. Okay, this attack on Charlie is an attack on you all. That's what he's saying. He's telling you that. Okay, so sometimes he's addressing his people, and sometimes he's directly addressing you, if you can see it and observe it. The attack is attack on you, and he's talking to people like me, Christian people, white people, conservative people, people who are talking against these agendas and narratives that are absolutely infecting and ruining our children, right? It's attack on us all. He also said straight after that, it's an attack on the American experiment. Okay, so now they're saying that Charlie was attacking. He was attacking their experiment that they were having on all of us. Their PSYOP operations, military operation, experiment. Okay, so they took Charlie out because he was attacking their experiment. See? This is how they're telling you. He also said that it's an attack on our ideals. And the our he's talking about is the leftists, their ideals. That what Charlie was doing was attack on their ideals, and it was a direct attack on their ideals. Attacks through good discussion and debate. The governor said it cuts to the foundation of who we are. Right? And the we is talking to his people, the Masons. Right? It's an attack on who we are, he says. So as he's having these speeches, he's going between and addressing both. He's addressing us and he's addressing his people. Okay? Us and then his people. All right, this is how I see it. This is my observations, okay? He says, as anger pushed me to the brink. I mean, this guy's got no emotion. He's just pretending. He's biting his lip and he's sort of wiggling his eyes around. He stutters. He's not a very good speaker at all. He's very hesitant, very disingenuous. I mean, I can tell this because I just have that intuition, and I'm sure other people have that too, where you just know something's wrong with that person, is just not telling the truth. They're not saying things correctly. They're contradicting themselves. They're beating around the bush. They're not answering questions that they should actually know. I mean, apparently somebody had left this gun for Tyler to pick up. So who did that? They're not even talking about that. Who was this accomplice? Okay, they don't want to bring anybody else into the mix because you know why? I tell you why. They've got to have a lone gunman. It's got to be singly acted. Because if there's other people involved, then it's a whole different investigation into organised crime or organised terrorism if it's more than one person, you see. So it always has to be the nice lone gunman like the Lee Harvey Oswald. You know. What else have we got here? He said it was a watershed moment for America. A watershed moment. What is that supposed to mean? Well, that's kind of a connotation to the Watergate, which is when JFK got killed. In fact, the governor, Spencer Cox, he mentioned the killing of JFK, and he said, oh, the 60s were a very dark decade, a dark time. They used this word dark. Jacinda Ardern used it a lot too. She used the word dark a lot. When the Christchurch mosque incident happened, she said this is going to be one of our darkest days. And when she said that, I thought, oh, you got more coming. You got more dark days, have you? That's what it felt like. That's what it sounded like. They're telling you what they're doing. They're telling you. Got to learn to read them. The American experiment. Yeah, that's right. MK Ultra experiment. They're drug and mind controlling everybody now. In the old days, in the Nazi regime, they used to do it secretly in labs and stuff. And then they started doing it to military personnel. And now they're just doing it to the world. The drug and mind control programs are all under a spell, people. Okay? That's why you've got to get into the Ark of Jesus. The governor said the youth loved Charlie. And then he said the youth hated Charlie too. And he was more impressing on what people didn't like about Charlie. So my take is this, just a brief. Down below to the right of Charlie, there's this guy, and I believe he's got a high-speed air pistol device. Over here, on this side of Charlie, there's two guys, and some people have done videos about them and their hand signals. You know, on the cap, you know, across here, the nose and the ear. And there's another guy standing next to him that sort of does the hand rub, and the arm rub. And somebody's done a video and had a look at military signals that they use to signal something's happening, or there's a sniper or whatever it is. It's like a code. And apparently there's these two fellas off to the side. Look, I don't know, because it's... I'm not sure about that, but I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, because if there was somebody out there making a shot of a rifle, it wasn't the Tyler boy, he was the decoy, okay, he didn't have a rifle. There was somebody else that let off a rifle fire because they needed to have the rifle sound, okay. So the ear gun, the pistol device that sliced through the neck of Charlie, okay, did make a sound, but it's like a cracker, so they had to have the rifle coming at the same time. And these two guys that were off to the side of the tent, the guy at the back with the white cap, he could have been signalling to the shooter up the back that was just going to pop off a blank to make the sound, okay, a blank cartridge, and the guy standing next to him that was doing the arm rub, that was probably maybe for the fella right in front of him that actually made the pot shot. I just saw a blast of wind coming from his t-shirt. Was very impressed, and it was all pulled up and it went this way like that. So it's coming from below across here and just clean cut. I just don't think a bullet's going to do that. I might be wrong. Maybe a bullet does leave a perfectly clean wound like that and doesn't blow out the back, or, you know, I just expected more disturbance. I expected more disturbance from a high caliber rifle from that far away. I just, no. The distraction went, the noise rang out, people ducked. They ducked down first of all for about 30 seconds. Now the videos that I watched afterwards, because I'd picked this guy out and thought, I think it's him, you know, and I concocted my story. And then afterwards I saw some videos, and this particular guy that I picked out with the beige cap, he turned his cap backwards. And there was somebody filming him, like this is within like 30 seconds of it happening, or even shorter. Somebody was filming this guy with the blonde hair, cap backwards, young white guy, going, yeah, this, and he was cheering. And he was standing, everybody was ducked because he was a shooter, and he's cheering. He's going, USA, USA. And it was like he was cheering it. And who was filming him? The person filming him would have been standing up as well. Obviously, they weren't frightened about any other bullets coming. Why was it that guy I picked out, and I thought he would be in the perfect position to make that pop shot, and that would explain the disturbance of the t-shirt with the blast of air? Would a bullet do that? If a bullet was coming from up on a roof line coming down. Okay, you're saying that a bullet's come down into his neck, right? That's what people are saying. Then why was the shirt all impressed with this blast of air? Would a bullet do that? Is the bullet coming down ruffling that air up? Maybe it is. I don't know. It just seems a bit strange to me. There could be a perfectly good explanation out there somewhere. And if you have an explanation of that, then you just let me know. What were some other anomalies? Oh yes, the Freemasons have a youth training. It's called demolay. I think it's 15 to 21-year-olds. So this Tyler might have been involved in that. I honestly just don't think. I don't know what's going to happen with Tyler. They say that he could have the death sentence or just be in prison for the rest of his life. So we'll never see him again. I don't think he's going to have a trial, although I believe people should have a trial. The man that was arrested and jailed for the mosque massacre here in New Zealand a few years ago, we never saw him again. He never had a trial. There was some footage of him supposedly in a courthouse. He had two guards next to him and he was handcuffed in this white tunic. But we don't know when that happened. That was the only little snippet we saw of him being arrested. Maybe he had a hearing, but he never had a trial or anything. They just locked him away. We don't know where he went. We don't know where Tyler's going to go. They might say they killed him and they didn't. Maybe they shipped him off somewhere else to have a life somewhere else. I don't know. He might pop up somewhere else in some other, false flag incident in another state. Maybe they'll change this. I don't know what they do, but it's all really creepy and weird. It's all really creepy and weird. There's not enough answers. When the governor was asked a lot of questions, just very basic questions he should have known, he just quickly diverted away and said that I can't answer on that. Next one, I can't speak to that because why can't you speak to that? Why can't you speak to that simple thing? Where did the gun come from? Who left the gun in a special place for him? They're not saying anything about that. But the universities are created by the Freemasons and it's their territory and it's their space. Alright, so they're not going to let these people in anymore, not now, because they're ramping up their agenda. By 2030 they want to have everything done and dusted. So they're really ramping it up now and they're getting rid of people that are coming, well, not really coming against them, okay? I don't want to say coming against, because that's anti. Alright? What it is that we were speaking over the top of it with the Word of God. Okay, the Word of Truth. That founded the Western nations. Founded on faith. And so we've got a lot of threats around us. A lot of threats. And these powers that be, these Luciferian cults, they just use people. They're using the Muslims. They're using the tribal people. They're using the Palestinian people. They don't care about any of us. Okay, this is why we've got to arm up, as in soldier up. We don't have arms here in New Zealand. We've got to soldier up and put the armour of God on, which is the helmet of salvation. You've got the breastplate of righteousness. You've got a belt of truth. You've got the sword of the Spirit and the shoes of peace. And that's the armour of God. And that is what Charlie walked in. Now, yes, he got executed, but remember, he was the good and faithful servant that finished his calling. He finished what God wanted him to do. As a vessel that outpoured everything. And he left that works and he left that legend behind for all of us to pick up, because now it's multiplied. And that's the idea, go forth and multiply. Okay, every time one of us gets taken out, we just keep going forth and multiplying. We're going to live forever in heaven anyway. We can't fear death. Okay, fear the one that can destroy the soul in hell. Don't fear the people that can take a pot shot at you and take you out. You know, because otherwise you're just going to be hiding away and the world is not going to hear the truth. The truth is being sucked and vacuumed out of the community. It's been taken out of schools. That's why Trump's putting it back. It's been removed from the schools here after 160 years. And the old treaty chiefs, the Maoris, they wanted the Christianity to always be evangelized to their people, and it was removed about 25 years ago, and that was a breach of our original foundational treaty, where the interests were supposed to be defended, and the shared interests mainly. The shared interest between the Pakeha and the Maori was basically Christianity. That's what brought them from death to life, and that is what the haka is all about. The haka, to me, is a testimony of the chief becoming a Christian and being born again, going from death to life. The translation has all the symbology of baptism, the missionary man coming, giving him the word, and he's experiencing the cross of Christ. It's all in there. Whiti whiti is the word cross in Māori. The word cross in Māori is whiti whiti. Or just whiti. The guy is going up to the sun, and in the end he jumps up. Now he is just, that's a testimony. Okay, he used to be a warlord and killed a lot of people in the wars, New Zealand wars and tribal wars, and then he became a Christian, which is what happened to them. Most people became Christians. Most of the Maori people did become Christians, and they lived a good life, and we had law and order and all of that, and a great nation was built. We're having a big problem here in New Zealand. We are having a tribal problem, and they're trying to silence our voices. They're trying to cut us out of the picture. Okay, they don't want us to have a voice. They don't want us to defend. While they're slandering and shaming and defaming and blaspheming our faith, they don't want us to defend that. They say it's racist if we don't like what they're doing, because the rebel ones I'm talking about, which a lot of the Maoris today have actually become very revolutionary and rebellious, because they're brought up with the horrible stories that us white people are born privileged, racist, and we accrued generational wealth from their stolen land. So they teach their kids to fight, fight, fight. And it is a real anger, and I believe that it just rips the child off of just being their own person. Where they're thrust into this cultural revolution now, where they have to do this. We have to be different than white people. We have to mark ourselves with tattoos. We have to do everything differently. We have to have Maori this and Maori that, and really it's all just European living. There's nothing indigenous about their lifestyle. I mean, the American Indians, as far as I know, not that I've been there, they live on reservations and have their own villages and businesses and all sorts of things going on. But the Maoris don't. They came and integrated with us, married us, and they've been having children with us for 200 years. Now they want to be separate. I mean, you just can't do that to people. There's a lot of injustices going on, and we're going to stand up and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to be fearless about it. Okay, we're not going to be anti-anything. We're not going to try and tear anybody down. You can say what you like, but we are going to raise a banner, and it's going to be the same banner that Charlie Kirk rose, and it's a banner of truth, open discussion and debate, seeking the counsel of many, finding harmony between each other, agreeing to disagree, and always be ready with an answer as to why you believe what you do, and have an intellectual answer for it. And because if you haven't got that, then the other person is never going to change their mind about how they view something. So the educational unity is very important. So I'm going to end this now because I've gone on for 1 hour and 14, and I'm not supposed to be doing my videos longer than an hour. So I don't know what you think of my take on what happened to Charlie Kirk. It's just such a very, very sad tragedy. People need to have more security. The police didn't do a very good job. And what happened, you know, like it was the same when Trump got attempted assassination and the bullet hit his ear. Could have been somebody down the front with one of those little ear pistols. Because they never found the guy on the roof, the Tyler on the roof. They never found that person. There was a second attempt and they did arrest that guy. But I don't know who it was that attempted the life on Trump. The investigations aren't so good, and I think we really need to keep our eyes open and have a good look at things and question everything. Questioning things is exciting because it means that you want to learn and you want to be challenged. I'm okay to be proven wrong. I really am. Prove me wrong if I've said anything. Often I do say things that aren't true, and I get my information mixed up. You know, and I don't mind admitting when that happens. So, but that whole scenario was very well executed and planned. And yeah, tell me what you think of the little air gun pistol, the high speed. Maybe somebody knows about devices like that where you can, at close range, send a line of compressed, like a laser, at close range and actually cut somebody's flesh open. I think you probably can. But then again, I might just be, you know, way off track. But learning about the nature of the Freemasonic religion, I call it a religion, a Luciferian religion. Learning about them is very interesting, and I think it's well worth doing. And I think you should watch. I advise people to watch Charlie's videos, watch some of the discussions and the debates he's been having with university students. It's very interesting. You might learn something. It will also help people that want to speak up more, how to actually be more articulate. If you listen to Charlie, you can see how he sort of arranges and organises things and how he answers. And sometimes he sort of diverts off a little bit so he can, you know, always have the upper hand, you see, which is all part of it. He was very clever at that. And it's just such a huge loss. But he's in heaven with the Lord, and maybe he can do better from there, and there's a window looking down on us, and he's very happy that we're all fanning the flame, you know, and we've cried the tears for him, and now it's time to be actively involved in spreading the word of the Lord, the gospel, the good news of the gospel. That's what makes people prosperous and happy and blessed. And don't be afraid to say it, but just be very cautious and wary about how you say it and your approach and how you say it. Do it out of a heart of love. And on that note, good night, and I'll pray for you all, and let's just be nice to each other from now on, and tell the truth and speak up and be brave. Okay, good night.